share this after. Will you remind me in future to record as you remind me to do the healing circle? Marvellous. Right, just very briefly, quick recap. The 100 or so questions boiled down to 10, really focusing on how do I trust the information? How do I trust myself? How do I overcome self-doubt? How can I get more accuracy and detail in my mediumship? How can I stay in the flow so that I know I'm really receiving information from the spirit world? How can I get my mind out of it? How can I be consistent in my mediumship? What do I do about anxiety? That's a big one, isn't it? Anxiety comes into mediumship all the time. Oh, it's anxiety. How do I find enough time to practice? How do I cope with the stress and the misery of life currently to be able to get into a holistic and spiritual space to do the wonderful work of the medium? And how do I interpret and decode messages? That's a recap for the recording, because we've got well over 100 people registered and at least half of you are going to just be catching this from the recording. So there you go. So as I was saying, mediumship is not something we just do for the sort of half an hour we have a sitter, or the 10 minutes you're doing a quick sort of message from in a church service or whatever, or the 2 hours you are sitting in class, or the 20 minutes or half an hour you're sitting in the power. Mediumship is not just something you do, right? Mediumship is a way of being. And so we need to start thinking about mediumship as being, not doing. Because the minute we shift that way of thinking, a lot of these challenges, let me say, that you have here actually just sort of melt away. You're all going, yeah, right. It's true, largely, right? So really with me, and this is why I've started teaching mediumship really more about focusing on capturing story and capturing sort of character and embodiment, and this year in the mediumship that I'm teaching. And it's because really when we start to normalize, we have this idea that mediumship, we're communicating with somebody somewhere else, like they took a bus or they took the train, they got a round trip to show up here in our consciousness to give us a message to talk to their loved ones, right? So we need to start, first of all, thinking about mediumship in a much more 21st century way, which is we're all naturally in this eternal and consistent flow of consciousness. The brain is an antenna that's tuning in the piece of consciousness that becomes us. I'm not going to go on and on about this. If you're interested in that, read, there's a recommended reading list on my website. David Chalmers talks about this quite a lot. Quite a few people talk about this. So if we stop thinking about the spirit world as somewhere else and start realizing that the spirit world and us all exist within the same stream, we start to realize that the spirit communicator with us is right there, that we don't have to sort of go and try to find them, reach them. This is that stress on the brain, right? Have any of you ever gone, let me go sort of tune you in this beautiful space, and then you suddenly go, oh, God, there's nobody there, right? Damn it, there's nobody. And you're all frantic of find somebody trying to shake spirits out of the trees, right, to come and talk to you. We start realizing that the spirit world is already present, and that what it is that all we need to do is literally turn our awareness to them. Turn our focus. We don't have to go chasing them. We don't have to try to travel to some other place. We don't have to get them to travel to us. We simply turn our awareness. You're thinking about your tea and toast one minute. You're thinking about somebody's auntie the next minute. And then you just start moving your focus from your tea and toast to the auntie. And it's that simple. Right? Mediumship is just about moving your focus from here to there. It's not about trying to get anywhere or them trying to get anywhere. It's simply about you turn your focus, you send out the invitation, and they will respond. Why? Because they want to communicate and talk to their loved one. This is not like I've got to try to go poach a spirit person to give me some information. This person wants to talk. I mean, if all of you are in the spirit world, and you had an opportunity for 10 minutes, and all you had was 10 minutes, and your son walks into a medium, how fast are you going to be there waiting for the medium just to turn their attention to notice that you're there? Right? Because you're going to be dying, excuse the pun, to speak to your daughter. So just remember that. The spirit world is there, eager and wanting to work with you, wanting you just to get your head out of it, Pay attention to the fact that they're there. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. You don't have to make a big song and dance act out of it, right? It's that simple. When we start getting into, and when we start understanding that, when we start understanding the nature of consciousness, the nature of the spirit world, it immediately takes the pressure. Do any of you notice? You probably don't believe me as I'm saying this. I know some of you do because you've taken classes with me. Is that the minute you take that pressure off, that they need to be somewhere, we've got, I've got to go, if you've ever heard, like, I've got to go and try to find a spirit person. What do you mean try? They're standing beside you, right? What do you mean you got to go find them? All you have to do is turn your head, you'll trip up over them, right? They're there. They're there already. When you know that, then you can start going, oh, maybe somebody will be there. Have any of you stood up have any of you done church services or demonstrations, you stood up and you're like, so please somebody just be there. And then somebody puts the hand up and they say, yes, that sounds like my dad. And immediately it's like, oh, thank God. That stress is yours. That's your anxiety. They were just waiting for you to get out of the way. Jesus, is this medium ever going to calm down so I can get a word in? Right? Calm down. They're already there. They are only too delighted to talk to you. They're just waiting for you to get off the monkey mind, to get off the anxiety, to stop the adrenals pumping out adrenaline just so you can calm down and hear them. They're already there, right? So once we understand that, it'll help you really you don't even have to trust yourself. All you have to do is trust yourself that you can just move your awareness, or you can just move your focus. I mean, how easy is that? The rest of it, and you know that they're there, so you don't have to worry. Oh, will anybody be there? It's like, inviting people to your birthday party and being afraid nobody will come, right? They will be there. Right? So a lot of that sort of trust in your mediumship comes from your own anxiety. It's not coming from mediumship. It's not coming from the spirit world. It's coming from your anxiety. So the thing to address, your anxiety. Right? Find ways to deal with your anxiety. Once you are in the flow and in the power, and we'll do, if we have time, hopefully we'll have time at the end today, we'll have time to do a little sort of attunement practice. The most important thing to do, really, I think, to support your mediumship is to sit in the power, to do that attunement practice. There's a short recording on my website. At some point over the next month, I'll be re-recording them. Is to sit in the power, because when you actually sit in the power, over time, and I'm going to say, I was just reading a thing this morning, because I read the Tricycle Buddhist magazine every morning, is they were saying, within Buddhism, the four most important things: discipline, effort, perseverance, and focus. And I'm like, that's not just Buddhism, that's mediumship too. You need discipline, effort, perseverance, and focus, right? This, people run around, and a lot of you have heard me say this before. I mean, no insult when I say it, but we've got a whole bunch of mediums running around saying, oh, I'm gifted. Get over yourself, right? Get over yourself. A gifted medium is a medium who has trained, who has educated, who has done personal healing, who has applied discipline, focus, effort, and perseverance to make their mediumship the best it can be. The ability in itself is not a gift. I can play chopsticks on the piano. That does not make me a gifted musician, right? It's the work, it's the level of intensity, it's the seriousness, it's the personal healing. Mediumship will bring up all those little demons that you've been carting around with you since childhood, that have been whistling around in the dark. They will all come up to be healed. And as a medium, that's critically important, because you're always going to be sitting in front of wounded people, vulnerable people. Nobody sits in front of a medium because all is right in their world. So you're always sitting in front of vulnerable people. And if you are not healed, you will harm. And so obviously that's an ongoing process that goes on throughout our life. But what we want is to be honest with ourselves, that we do have issues that need to be healing. We need to learn and recognize our triggers. We need to make sure that we are doing our inner work so that we're not dumping our issues on vulnerable people who come to sit in front of us. Because sometimes they'll be very sad, and you'll feel marvelous because you've given them a lovely, comforting message and all is right in the world. But grieving people can be very angry. And if you've got a very angry person sitting in front of you and you're trying, you still have to be able to help them the same way without you being triggered by their anger, right? You need to do the healing. So this is why I say mediumship is a way of being, not just a thing that you do. You don't just clock in and clock out, right? It's a light, it's a whole way of being, right? Now, when it comes to things like the power and the flow, because a lot of people are saying, how do I stay in the flow? How do I remain consistent? A lot of that is, or how do I know if it's me or the spirit world? So many people have asked that. That's the big question everybody asks starting at. How do I know if it's me or them? Right. Well, there's a few ways you know if it's you or them. If you are used to working with the power, sitting in the flow, if you understand your own energetic signature, you know what it's like. If I said to all of you, just feel into your body just right now, your body's sitting on the chair, just be, because we don't really pay a lot of attention to, I say that, you know what I mean. We don't pay a lot of attention to ourselves, but you know what I mean. How your body feels sitting on the chair, right? That's just your normal physical space in gravity. The weight on the chair, your arms, whatever's going on, right? When we start consciously moving into the altered state, we start to experience over time subtle changes in how we feel, how it feels to be in that space. When we sit in these altered states, when we do this practice and we do this work, over time it becomes very clear to you, I'm in an altered state, I know I can feel it. And it's going to feel different to everybody. And it'll feel different at different times. Sometimes people will feel just physical dysmorphia, like the body starts feeling like it's inflated or huge or whatever, or you feel like you just sort of, you can have that sort of physical sense. You can feel sort of tingles or itches or heat or cold. It's going to depend on you. It's going to be personal to you. The more you can do these practices, the more you recognize when you're in the power, when you're in the altered state, and when you're in your normal physical state. And when you understand that within yourself, you know if you're in an altered state or if you're not. And if you are in an altered state and you know you're in the power, you will naturally be in flow. And when you're in flow, everything is coming from them. And when you feel like yourself, when you recognize this, no, I'm not. I know I'm not in the power. I've dropped out. Because we do go in and out of it. I've dropped out. If you've dropped out and you understand your own energetic signature and you know you've dropped out, guaranteed it's coming from here. It's that simple. Right? Because we make it like it's a big production. No, it's that simple. Oh, show me a blue dicky bow. Was that my blue? Did I remember that from my Uncle Alfred's wedding when, was that a dicky bow that popped into my head, or was that a dicky bow on that dog? Did they just show me a dicky bow on a dog? Or, yeah. And now you're in your head. Well, if you're in your head, you're out of the power, right? But if you were in the power to begin with and you saw a blue dicky bow on a dog, and I say this because it actually happened to me, a blue dicky bow on a dog, and energetically, you're in the power, you're in that flow, what happens is they might show you Uncle Alfred's dicky bow just to trigger a memory for you to use your memory to convey some information. Right. So what happens a lot is people go, yeah, but that's where I remember that happened to me when I was 6. Yeah, because they saw the memory there and they used it to share some information with you. It's very, very common. So how do you know that's not your own memory or it's something that they triggered? Because if you are in the power, if you understand your own energetic altered state, no, I'm in the power. It's definitely they're using a memory. I'm not, I'm in my head. Well, that's definitely just coming from me. That's all it is. Comes down to just becoming very familiar with your own energetic state. Simple, right? Everyone's looking at me like, what is she on about? Simple, right? Yes, no, yes, thank you. You work on your own energy, you work on your own power. That will keep you in the flow. That will keep you knowing 9 times out of 10 if something came to you from them or to you or from you, whether they've triggered a memory, whether whatever way it comes, whether it's something new, right? And when you do all of the other stuff I said earlier, it simplifies it, right? Simplifies it. We start to now know that we start to simplify what makes the connection happen. We start to realize the person's already breathing down your neck before you even, and you're going, oh God, what if they don't come? And they're already going, you shut up, I'm trying to say something, right? Simple, right? Much simpler. Mediumship is much simpler than that. So when we get on to things like people are asking, how do I know if it's my mind? That's the things I'm talking about. It's all about the flow. These are just the things we need to really get a handle on. Things in terms of sort of consistency. Mediumship can be very inconsistent. The longer you're doing it, the more consistent it will be. But some days you just have a low energy day and you can feel like your mediumship is just rolling, just trying to find out which granny you've got. It's like trying to roll a rock uphill, right? And some other days you're there and you've just got the whole shopping mall outing and the strawberry ice cream and whatever, and you've got every single beautiful detail of a story because energetically you're in a different space. That's just the nature of mediumship. It's not mathematics, right? So all you can do is just be the best you can be, do the practices that you can do your power practice, work on your own healing, all of these things I'm talking about. And then just allow yourself, give yourself the bandwidth to know that some days you'll really be on form and some days you won't. I mean, I've sat down, I've stopped doing really early private sessions because I always feel in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, when I sit to work, I can't, it's so hard to build the amount of energy you need for a 45-minute private session. So I've stopped doing them early because I just know I'm never able to build enough energy straight out the bed, you know. Just some people are marvelous in the morning. I'm not one of them, right? And so I've just sort of reorganized how I work around that. So a lot of this is just get used to yourself. When do you have good energy? When is your energy a bit low? You know, I can't sit in the power after 9 o'clock at night. I just can't. I'm just too tired. The day's just too long. So figure out and adjust for yourself around where you feel good because energy it's not always even. And mediumship is all about managing the energy. Right? The other thing too is sometimes you'll get a communicator. It's fantastic, great, really talkative, really extroverted, just an absolute pleasure to work with. Makes your life so much easier. And then sometimes you'll get somebody who's really shy, really private, really introverted, and you'll be like, you can't get anywhere with them. That's not you. That's the nature of the spirit, because we know people don't just die and sprout wings and sit on clades playing harps, right? People are the same. So if they're introverted and shy and private here, they're gonna bring that to you too. And you've just got but that in itself is evidence. Recognize that in itself is evidence. If you're having a really difficult time, you probably will just know, I feel like I've got your uncle here. He must have been really private because and he's not very trustful of strangers because it's taking a long time for him to get used to me. And they will say, yes, that's how he was. You see, even that is evidence. So don't discount anything. We'll be doing a class, not the next one, is on storytelling. The one after that we'll be doing on character, really, really starting to understand the nuances of character and how those nuances in themselves are evidence. We'll be doing that later, I think, in June. But so for now, we really want to do these practices to take away the anxiety, to build that trust. This is how we do it. And just allow yourself be inconsistent. And just use your inconsistencies to recognize when do you work well, when do you not? What kind of characters do you work well with? What kind of characters do you not? I had a woman one time who, her daughter had been going to mediums for, I don't know, like 17 or 18 years or something. Never heard from her mother. Never, always wanted to hear from her, never heard from her mother. Right? And then she came to me one day and there was her mother right away. We were chatting. And but the thing was her mother was Irish Catholic from Donegal. Right? Very religious woman from Donegal. But this daughter she lived in America because she immigrated. The mother emigrated to America in later life. So the daughter was born in America. So the daughter had never come across an Irish Catholic medium, well, former Catholic. But when she came to me, obviously it was the fact that the mother was dealing with another Irish Catholic made her mother comfortable talking to me, and she hadn't been talking to anybody else. So this is another reason why it's not all about you. Sorry to tell you, you're not the center of the universe. Right? There's all sorts of dynamics at play here. Because somebody asked earlier, can you guarantee a particular person will come at a particular time? Absolutely not. Because what if the person doesn't want to talk to you? What if they're not comfortable? What if you're not, an old Catholic woman from Donegal and you'll only talk to another Catholic from Ireland? You can't, and also you have to bear in mind that they will only be able to talk when they're ready. I had another woman one time whose father had been very abusive. It took him 22 years. 22 years to speak to her through a medium, because it took him 22 years to be able to understand what he had done, to be able to give her a genuine apology. Right? It's not up to you. It's up to them. So you can never guarantee anybody in particular. You can make your best effort, certainly, to find them, but it's not something you can ever guarantee. And I've talked about this before. I'm not going to talk about it here because we've got limited time. But, you know, if you guarantee something to a particular person, somebody, what will happen is you will end up reading your sitter psychically. This happens I cannot tell you how many mediums I've been to who actually gave me a psychic reading just from reading me. You can give somebody 20 spot-on facts from reading their aura, their energy field, without ever being connected to the person in the spirit world. Learning to recognize the difference in the subtleties of the energy just takes practice. The more you do it, and there's techniques we do in the advanced techniques course to really be able to develop that knowing within you. But we'll always pick up something psychically. What we need to do is know when we've done that. But a psychic can pick up all, and psychics will say, oh, I can definitely get Uncle Bob for you. And what they do is they read you. And a lot of the time they don't even know they're doing it, because you need a lot of really good training to be able to really recognize that all the time, you know. So as a medium, you cannot guarantee that. You cannot go drag somebody out by the feet and say, God damn it, you are going to speak to me today. Can't do it, you know. So one other thing people are asking me about, and then I'm going to just talk about how we start moving into fullness of information. Is somebody asked, how can I get names in the spirit? Well, if you're good with names, you probably will. I'm terrible with names. I never get names, and I've just given up. I can't even remember anybody's names, you know. And I've done all of these practices of the Sherlock Holmes mind palace stuff to try to remember. My brain does not go to names, so I don't even bother. What happens with me in my mediumship, often I will get a name that's not their name, but it's a name that is associated with somebody else that I know. And I think anybody who's read my book knows, a friend asked me who was hanging out. She knew somebody was hanging out in her living room because her toddler was trying to get this invisible person to pick him up, right? So she freaks out. She calls me. She said, you got to get around. There's somebody in the living room, right? So I go around. I walk into the living room and I hear one word, Martha. That's it, Martha. I turned around and went back in and told her, it's your auntie. She's in her late 50s, quite heavy set. She's got a big voice. Oh yeah, she said, that's my Auntie Joni. How did you pick that up so quick? Because I'd literally walked in and walked back out again. Because the name Martha is my Auntie Martha, and that's what she's like, right? But I knew Martha was not her. I just knew, because you use your clairsentience as well with this, just sort of naturally happens. And so I've actually found that I've gotten more information by just allowing them pluck a name that has a whole story with it, than going, tell me, put a name tag, show me a name tag, put a little thing in your cap, whatever, you know what I mean? Don't worry about it. You'll also get information that naturally flows with your character, because mediumship is different for everybody. So there was some of you have heard this before, there was a medium called Albert Best, who lived in England, I think, but he was Irish, and Albert Best would stand up and he could give, got your Auntie Jo, got your Auntie Mary here. She lived at 45 blah, blah, blah street in whatever town. I mean, he was that spot on. He would give these addresses every time. It was unbelievable. And do you know why? Because he had been a postman. So the spirit world will use what you naturally, so I'm a writer, so I'm really good with character and story. So I tend to get really in-depth insights into character, because it's just where my mind naturally, those are the neural pathways that are already laid in my mind, and that's what the spirit world will use, what's already laid in the mind. So the other key part of mediumship is not going in, you know, because I got loads of questions about basically what amounts to how, you know, snatching information, you know. Got a fact, got a watch, got a this, got a that, you know, and you go in, you sit in front of a medium and say, oh, got a man here, he's got a gold watch, he's got black shiny shoes, and he's got a red car, and it's like marvelous. Is that the way you speak? Is that the way we speak to each other? You know, do we go around, do you go down, you see your neighbour down next door and you say, you know, dog, flower, cloud? Right. We don't speak like that. So our mediumship, so instead of thinking about mediumship as a detail I've got to snatch, or a fact I've got to get, or I got that fact, how do I get another fact? Stop. Step into the flow, because once you step into the flow, you'll naturally start going, oh, good morning, I love the dog. Oh, he's eaten your flowers, he's trampled your flowers, God, looks like rain. See the difference? That's the way you would talk to your neighbour, right? So that's the way the spirit world wants to talk to us. So if we are going, I want to get more facts, you're really looking the wrong way. You really want to be getting more of the story they're trying to tell you, because nobody's in the spirit world going, flower, dog, cloud. I guarantee you. What they're trying to do is give you elements of their story to say, hey, so I see you took the dog for a walk and he trampled the neighbour's flowers and it's going to rain later, so bring your umbrella. Like, this is the way your dad's going to be talking to you, not cloud, flower, dog. When we understand that, we need to understand that. So we're not approaching mediumship like, it's an old school way of teaching mediumship, to be honest. Evidence. How do we get more evidence? Evidence. It's like, no, how do we get more story? Because the evidence naturally exists within the story. People have this idea that story is just all this fluffy stuff. You know, it's all this soft information. And I say, great. Why don't you write a book, fill it with soft information, and see what the publishers say? When has anybody ever read a story that had no facts, no details, no evidence in it? Ever. Never. We are our stories, as Mary Oliver says that. We are our stories. We go through life, all of the ways we communicate are through stories. If you just think all of you, just briefly, of one very brief little conversation you had this morning with somebody. Could have been 2 sentences long. How much of that involved a person? Probably you or somebody else. Right? How much of it involved something that happened? Even if it was just bloody cat has knocked the plant off the table again. That's a story. There's a cat, there's the plant, there's the wreckage. If you start to think in terms of the fact that we are our stories. We live in a world where language and communication revolves around communicating stories, even if it's 1 sentence long. And I said this to you in my writing classes. There was competition, this apocryphal competition one time between Ernest Hemingway and somebody else, can't remember. And the idea was, who could tell a story in 6 words? 6 words. Many times we got 6 facts. They amounted to nothing. So Hemingway comes up with, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. How powerful is that? It's a huge story in 6 words. You see what I'm saying? So the way we get to, so once we start being able to move into the flow, move into the trust, rethink about how we understand our interaction with the spirit world, which I've already talked about. Next step is to move beyond trying to snatch evidence, to really step into the flow very, very deeply to receive the story, because the evidence will emerge within it. Right? Always. Anybody go read any news story, any book, any short story, anything after this class, and I guarantee you, if you were to sit there and start circling the facts, you would see it is stuffed with facts, but it flows so well. It actually comes to life off the page. And that's the way we want mediumship to be, because that's what the spirit world is trying to tell us. And we're limiting it by thinking we've got to snatch a bunch of facts. Right? So people say, well, go deeper. How do you go deeper? How do you get more? How do you feel into it? You do it by laying the pathways to make that possible, like Albert Best's posts, like my characters, We lay the pathways because outside class, outside sittings, we lay those pathways as a matter of course in our day-to-day life. It's just a way of changing how we think and be more observant and more aware of how we communicate, paying more attention to how people are speaking to us, not just what they are saying. Right? Recognizing the story that exists in every single interaction. The bloody cat knocked down the plant. There, stop. There's the story. It's got the cat, it's got the hero, or anti-hero, it's got the action, and it's got the outcome, right? Everything has a story. So when we start thinking in terms of story in this way, we start seeing that all of the facts are nestled in something that's cohesive and impactful. Right? So what we want to be able to do is to learn how to lay those neural pathways. So people talk about all the time, mediumship is storytelling. Well, if you don't know how to tell a story, that's not going to really help you very much, right? But storytelling is an art that can be learned, right? So I'm teaching a class with the Arthur Conan Doyle Centre in Edinburgh. There's a few people, well, no Scots here with us today, and we're sort of going through that for over the course of 8 weeks of sort of just helping people to start to recognize the storyline in things, the storyline, so they can share that storyline. So it's a beautiful way of doing it. And so sort of in Ireland, we have no one from Ireland live with us today, I don't think. In Ireland, we have Cayce. Great, hi Cayce. In Ireland, there's a nation of storytellers, right? Irish people are always telling stories. And we're kind of known for it. We've got 4 Nobel Prizes in literature, and we're just sort of known. It's just our culture is all about telling stories. Anywhere you go, going to meet somebody in the street, is going to tell you a story, I guarantee you. Don't be in a rush. But the other thing too about it is that, the way in America people go, hi, how are you doing? In Ireland, they'll say, hey, what's the story? Right? It's just the way we think about story. Think about always in terms of story. It's part of the culture. Right. Aidan from Texas, have you got Irish? You've got an Irish name. I was just wondering if you're Irish American. I don't think you can unmute yourself, can you? Ask to unmute. I just saw your name pop up there.
Yeah, I do, ethnically in my family.
Ethnically Irish, okay. So we've got two Irish and an Irish American, so marvelous. Right, so, but the thing is that these are just ways of thinking. Story is just a way of thinking, right? It's like the poet has a way of seeing and a way of experiencing that the rest of us mere mortals can't even approach in terms of lyricism and beauty, And so what we want to do is learn the art of storytelling. So I designed the course that we're starting next week is specifically on learning the art of storytelling and then bringing that art into mediumship. And so we start with, like I say, it's not just, you can't just show up for 2 hours on a Tuesday, because there's a lot of this work. Most of this work gets done out of class, away from the clients, gets done on your own time, Paying attention to the little exchange you had with the neighbour and pausing. If you were to recount that as a story, not just I saw Bob next door and he said whatever. Where's the fullness of the story, right? So my neighbour Kevin has gone mad up and down the streets, complaining about the trees crushing his Pontiac. He's getting mad. He's talking to everybody, telling everybody about his Pontiac, and but it's like you pay attention. It's not just, the tree, crushed Kevin's car. What was going on around the tree? What was going on in the weather? What was going on that pushed this massive tree down? Who is Kevin? Some people would be delighted if the car crushed their tree, because then they could make an insurance claim and get a better car. Right? Kevin's car was like always on a trickle charger. Every time I went by, the hood was up or the bonnet was up. I mean, he was always working, tinkering on this car because there's always something wrong with it, right? So you would think, he'd be delighted to get a new car. Nope, not Kevin. Kevin wanted his old jalopy, So now what does that say about Kevin? So who's this character? What has actually happened? What's going to happen after they pull the tree off the car and tow it away? What happens after the story? And so we just go around and we think in terms of story. We listen to each other, we tell each other our stories, and then we repeat back those stories. So this is a lot of the stuff we do in the class, and I ask everyone to do it during the week as well, because what we want to be able to do is do this over and over and over again in all of these different ways so that we master the art of how to tell a story. Right? And, you know, when we come to mediumship, it's not we're not writing, you know, we're not trying to come to somebody with sort of war and peace. But when we can contextualize the facts, it brings the presence of the loved one, right? And the story and the memory of the loved one, it makes their presence felt. So if somebody came along to you and said, you know, red car, pink ice cream, think it's your brother, lived in a suburb. You know, do you actually feel the presence of that brother in those facts? I mean, they're all accurate facts. I've got your brother here, he lived in the suburbs, he's showing me a pink ice cream and a red car. Those facts are accurate, right? But the actual story, and this is actually just from my own experience, was I have your brother here, he's sitting, you're driving around in a red SUV, he's sitting in the back looking between the seats. She's like, yeah, he used to do that all the time. Well, he's still doing it, he's driving along with you. You must be in the suburbs because you're passing a mall that's a single story of stores, so you must be in the suburbs there. And there's a little mini mall along the road that you drive all the time with your brother. Yeah, there's an ice cream parlour in it. And they have he wants to get a strawberry and vanilla cone. He's asking you to stop to get a strawberry and vanilla cone. And that was the story, because they only had apparently strawberry and vanilla ice cream in this little place in the mini mall. And this is all of those details. But can you see the difference between contextualizing that? Because then it's like he's saying, would you ever go in and get a strawberry and vanilla cone and think of him while you're eating it? Because he'll be able to share the sensory experience, because he'll be able to share your experience from blending with you to actually get another go at having his favorite strawberry and vanilla ice cream. Right? Can you see the difference between that and red car, ice cream, mini mall and brother? Right? So this is what we want to do. So there's no point in coming to mediumship going, oh, you know, somebody's showing me an ice cream. What's the story? What's the story? Because now you're in your head. You're going to end up making up the story because you're in your head. What you want to be able to do is work with the art of storytelling so that the pathways like Albert Best's postal addresses, those pathways are naturally there so that the flow, it all comes down, the flow of the message is just naturally able to flow into all of the pathways that you have already developed to be able to experience that story. Because the minute, you know, how many of you get, you know, a piece of evidence in your mediumship or a detail in your mediumship, and you're like, your first thing is like, well, what's the rest of that? What does that mean? Right? How do I interpret that? What does that mean? Right? Got a pair of black shoes here. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? The minute you start asking, you're out of the power, you're out of the flow, you're in your head. Right? The minute you start going to them, well, you show me black shoes. What does the black shoes mean? Tell me what else is going on. You're in your head. When you start talking to them in your contact, you're in your head. You're out of the flow. We need to be able to move into such a state of flow and such a depth of flow in our mediumship and have these pathways already laid so that we don't need to go, what's this, what's that, tell me more, this, that, and the other. Because the minute you start engaging with your mind, you cannot be in a state of attunement and in that flow and in that power and in your mind at the same time. And all of this can be learned, and it's none of it very difficult. It just takes, as the Buddha said, what was it he said? Perseverance, focus, discipline, and something else. I've forgotten already. Right. That's just what it takes. And you can do it. You can do it. Right? Any questions on that? Pop them in the chat. Effort, thank you. Yes, perseverance. What was it? Perseverance, discipline, effort, and focus. Thank you. Victoria. Does that sound easy? Does that make mediumship sound easier? Oh, let me try. I can't, because the thing is set so that I didn't set this up. This is not a very regular room. So if you want to ask me questions, or if you've got anything you want to say, just for me, I do want to spend like about 10 minutes doing a little practice with you, an attunement practice before we leave, send you off into your weekend on a little cloud of spiritual and energetic power. But if you've got a question or a comment, just pop it in the chat. Why don't you just do that? It's probably the easiest thing to do, yeah. So while we're doing that, I just want to share a few things with you. So this is my mediumship and storytelling class that I was mentioning. So I designed this course specifically to teach people the art of storytelling so that you can just sort of move into that flow, have those sort of pathways already built, so that it becomes much easier to receive the story, because we don't want to be grabbing the story, snatching the story, chasing the person around, trying to shake the rest of the story out of them. All we want to be able to do is move into a state of attunement with an understanding of the art of storytelling, so that all we have to do then is just shut up and receive it. I mean, how easy could it be? So that's what that is. It's actually, let me show, hang on, I should have done this page. So if you want, let me share it here. No, that's not it. This is it. There's, on my website, if you go there, I'll pop the link in the email with this recording later today or tomorrow, or today actually, because that special offers that they set up for me is only for today. So if you want to go along to the class, it's on my website, and you just have a read of it. One new thing I'm really excited about this year, two new things I'm really excited about this year we've introduced, is that all the recordings will be available just privately, just for registered students for a year. So you can actually go back, because I realise it takes more than 6 weeks to learn this, but the teachings will be there and you can revisit them for up to a year afterwards, which I'm hoping really helps people. And then the other thing I've introduced is practice circles. So after the class, this is only for students of live classes and master classes. This is private, it's not open to the public, where you can come after the class, you know, if you're continuing to work, and come back and do a check-in and do some practices. So we have those this year as well, so I'm excited about those. It's a little video of me talking about the class more than I'm doing here, so if you wanted, you can do that. And some reviews, some people did this class with me. Well, we did part of it last year, so so info from them. So loads and lots of info there, lots of details about what we're covering in the class if you want to do it, and some feedback from people if you want to see how other people got along with it. And I think that's it. Yeah, and then the rest of it is sign up. So that's mediumship. That's the new 6-week course coming up, with which will have a year of recordings afterwards, and then an opportunity to come back into into a practice circle with other students down the road. If you want to come back in, and after you've been doing some work for a while and you want to try it out again, you're more than welcome to do that. Anybody who's not really feeling confident, to be able to do that, it's an intermediate or advanced class, so you would already need to be able to make contact and place contacts fairly consistently to be able to do it. If you are starting out and you're not able to do that yet, I have created the 2 beginners and an intermediate classes that are on demand, and then you can find practice partners for all the practice periods in I think I've lost. Yeah, in our spirit space group, you can find people there, and you can also come along to our private practice circles, and that sort of lays the foundations then to be able to, and you can get a certificate of completion for these. You just turn in your logs, and then you can actually come along and do the series of advanced classes that I'm doing this year. So this is one of them. So that's that. So the other thing that we are doing this time is, there's a lot of sharing going on here, bear with me, is so this is for until tomorrow, I think until tomorrow morning. You can get $25 off this course. It starts not this Tuesday, coming Tuesday week. So you can get $25 off. Just use the Story25 code when you're checking out, and you can get $25 off. The other thing I'm adding for this and for the live classes is, is this. So what I'm going to do is, for people signing up for the live classes now, I'm going to include 2 free practice circles. So they're $25 a piece, so that's $50 as well. You'll get you'll get a code to be able to come and do the practice circles. So like if you do the class now for 6 weeks and you keep doing the practices and say in 2 months or 3 months, you're like, okay, I want to come back now and really try do more work on this. You can come back. They'll be good for, I think, a year. So you can come back at any time and get your 2 classes. So that will be an extra $50 basically thrown in, and another opportunity to do some extra focused, disciplined, whatever the other things were. Victoria, I need you. Focused, disciplined, and effort, whatever, as we go. So those are there. So we'll pop those. I'll put this link in the chat for anybody, and we'll get there. And by the way, there's only 10 places, and I think 7 of them are gone. So it's because they're really mentoring programs. I really need very few people to really be able to teach these properly. So this is not like my shift class. This is not 150 people. The mentoring programs are only 10 people, right? So, oh, hang on, everyone. So you can do it live, or you can do it by the recordings. If you can do it live, please do it live. It's Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock Eastern. So that's the registration link for that. And if anybody wants to do the beginners or intermediate on demand class, can just pop along to the masterclasses on my website as well. You'll see those there. I think that's everything I'm supposed to say. I think that's everything. All right. Any questions? I didn't see anything pop up in the chat. Any questions about any of that? Oh, John, who's John? Oh, Janet's not here. Janet's already signed up for the class. She's not here today. Right. So, anybody, any questions before we move along? We've only got about 10, 15 minutes left. You can pop them in the chat, or if you want, put a thingy up, so it brings your window up to the front so I can see you. And otherwise, oh, will I offer the storytelling class again? Lee, yeah, but probably not till next year, because this year's schedule is already set. So it's a series of 3 advanced classes. So the first one is storytelling, the second one is character, and the third one is advanced techniques over the course of the year. So if we do the storyteller again, it won't be till next year. Victoria, do I say to a person that there is no guarantee to connect? What do you say to a person when you start? Do you mean like when you're trying to explain to somebody that you can't guarantee a particular person? Yeah, you have to say that. You have to say, I can't guarantee a particular person. I will do my best to find the person that you want. All I can guarantee is that somebody known to you who wants to speak to you, has something they want to say to you, will be here. That's all you can guarantee. And if that doesn't happen, you give them your money back. Right? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Lee, if you can, we also do have the recording. So if you can't make the time, you could do the recording afterwards, and you can do anybody who can't make a class. This is the way I'm doing it all year this year for live classes. If you miss a class and you have a question on the class that you missed, you can email us the questions, and I'll answer them at the top of the next class. So you're always integrated into the class. You'll be able to practice with your classmates, with your spirit space people, and come to your practice circles. So even if you're doing it from the recordings, you still can talk to me directly, and you can still do all the practices. So you're not just sort of thrown to the wolves. Don't worry about that. All right. It's really, the reason for the 10 is to really be able to give everyone the attention, because this is really changing the way we approach mediumship. I really need to be able to pay attention to people, which I can't do if there's a load of people in the class. So this is why the advanced classes are all limited to 10. All right, for that reason. Anybody else questions before we get going? I like the elephant. Somebody's got a fabulous elephant there on their picture. All right, no more questions, comments, observations. Nobody's already hitting the drinks cabinet or the Ben and Jerry's Do you actually see or sense the contextual images from the spirit? Just depends, Alice, on how your mediumship works. If you're very clairvoyant and you see things a lot, you'll probably see images. Some people aren't clairvoyant at all. They'll get a sense, or they'll hear, or they'll just know. They'll use other senses. How information receives is very personal. It's the same as how we interpret any conversation we meet with our neighbor or whoever is going to really always be, very, very personal. Some people, I would say the best thing to do is to really try to normalize mediumship as much as possible. Think about it in a much more normal way. If you think about it in terms of the fact that somebody popped off to the spirit world, they are still flowing in the same stream as all of the rest of us. And they're still the same person. So we're still going to be communicating in the same way. People change slowly over time in the spirit world, the same way as we change slowly over time in this world. I am not the same person I was at 20, thank God. Right? Said everybody who knew me when I was 20. But, so the same thing is going to happen in the spirit world. So just normalize it. This is why I sort of say, get over ourselves as mediums, normalize things, understand what's going on in the real world. It'll help us understand what's going on in the spirit world. It's like, get rid of all the pretensions. I'm not saying none of you, of course, are pretentious, but there's an awful lot of pretension around mediumship. It's like, oh, I've got a power other people don't have. No, you don't. I think a pianist, frankly, has more power because I'm just in complete awe of people with musical ability. Can we just think about it? An amoeba crawled out of the ocean and here we are. It's creating music. Unbelievable, right? So we really want to be able to just really normalize it. How do we have conversations with each other? Start to think in those terms about having conversations with the spirit world. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's certainly going to get you to think about it much more closely than I got to shake them out of a tree. I got to try to shake a word out of them. Blue, show me the color blue. Oh, that must mean, must mean they've got communication issues. Don't we all, right? Well, frankly, I see blue for Catholics. I don't know how that happened. Just one day, somebody showed me blue. I just knew it was a Catholic person because of the Virgin Mary's thing. And then ever since, when people show me blue, I say, oh, it's a Catholic. It's like there's a club or something. It's a dictionary. There's Karen's personal dictionary. She understands blue equals this. I always see stripy shirts, vertical stripes on shirts where people always had to watch their weight. Somebody just one time came along like that and I knew what it meant. And now all the time, but that's going to work for you the same way as well. So you can't go, there's no cookie cutter. There's no actual, Cambridge dictionary of mediumship symbols. These are pieces of information that are shortcuts to telling you something, but they naturally develop in your mediumship over time. You don't have to go, let me write down a list, now let me hold it up to the sky so that all the spirit people can see what I put on my list and what everything means. Start to think about talking to the spirit world the way we talk to each other. And then pay attention to how we talk to each other. Because the more you pay attention and you're really present in conversations with each other, the more you'll be recognizing the story and everything. Right? When you start to recognize the story and everything, your mind just naturally bends that way, which means it will naturally bend that way in your mediumship. Right? Could it be any easier? You're like, yes, it could. But seriously, isn't this easier? Right? So it becomes our own healing, our own meditation, our own commitment, our own effort, our own perseverance, our own presence in the world, our own attention to detail, the way we think about things. A huge amount of it just becomes on how we be, right? Not what we do, right? This is why I say you don't do mediumship, you are mediums. You just have to live it. It's a way of being, not something you do. All right? How's everyone feeling now? You all feeling, okay, this doesn't sound so bad. God, what is she on about? I'm completely lost. No, you all know what I'm talking about, right? Do we sometimes let spirit actually talk through us, like talking to? Yeah. So if somebody's talking through you, that would generally be trance mediumship, which takes eons to develop to that extent, where you completely step out of the way to let somebody speak through you, where it's coming through their voice. So that wouldn't be evidential mediumship. That would be more like trance mediumship, Victoria. So right. So is that it? Good. You're not full of a lot of questions today. Well, I kind of answered lots of the questions you sent me, I think. Did I not answer anything? Anybody send anything that I didn't address? I think I pretty much covered the umbrellas. Mary, welcome. Mary's just registered. Welcome, Mary. I look forward to seeing you. I think it's going to be a great, there you are. It's going to be a great class. I'm really, really excited about this. Anyone knows I'm a writer, you know, my doctorate's in literature. There is nothing I love more in the world than stories and literature and all of these things and people's experiences. So I'm so excited. This is my favorite class actually to teach. Teaching stories, so that's marvelous. And then Mary, when you register, we'll just put you on the list to make sure you get a coupon for your practice circles, which then you can come along anytime during the year to those. All right, so I'll just remember to put you on the list for that. Right, so good. Shall we do Mary, hang on, let me see. Can you get that?
I just want to, I was, while you were talking, I'm registered, I'm in.
Oh, you are? Good.
I'm excited, thank you. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's great fun. I really, really enjoy it. And actually, honestly, it takes so much stress out of mediumship because what happens is that we put our focus on being curious, you know? So instead of going, oh God, I hope somebody's there, I hope somebody's there, you know, it becomes like, wow, I'm just going to meet an entirely new person with a really interesting life, with a really interesting life story. And, you know, and you just become very curious. Do you know, it's like, I mean, the person has had more experiences than you because this person's also died, right? And they've got this whole life there that you don't know anything about. And so now you're meeting a new person. And so it's just be curious. How interesting is this person going to be, you know? Instead of the terror of, God, if I get it wrong or I say something wrong or if there's nobody there or if I don't understand what they're saying or if the person I'm sitting in front of keeps saying no, right? The dreaded no, you know? And then you come, instead of coming to mediumship with this sort of like fear, we come with this excitement and this curiosity. This is a really interesting person you're about to meet. How exciting, right? How exciting. Put the focus on them, not on whether or not the sitter approves of you. Who cares? You want to be able to share what they're sharing. They're the one with the really rich life that they want to share with us. All right? Good. Okay, so let's just do a short little attunement practice. Let me pull up some music here for this. Give me a second. Chat amongst yourselves if you could, because the microphone won't turn on. You can chat amongst yourselves in the chat box if you want. But I don't have a text person on free events, so it's me trying to figure it all out. Okay. All right. So, we're just going to do a very nice, pleasant, that will hopefully send you off in a little cloud of bliss for the weekends, which God knows in the world we're in, we all need, right? So let me see, I'm just going to put on a little bit of music. You hear that? Good. Marvelous. So everybody taking a breath and getting yourself just quiet and settled. allowing the breath to bring your focus and your awareness to the self. Just allowing that breath to gradually allow the mind to settle and still, allowing yesterday to fall away, this morning to fall away, letting any worry or anxiety or anticipation of tomorrow to fall away, and just bringing your awareness back into this one single moment of truth, reality, and of presence. Bring your awareness to the simple act of breathing, the air in your nose, the rising and falling of your lungs. Just letting all other thoughts fall away. You can collect them again later. For now, moving into the power and the presence of this moment. Sitting in awareness quite simply of your being and your form. Should the mind wander, just releasing that thought and moving your focus quite gently, quite simply back to the breath. Still in body and still in mind. Allowing your physical form to sink into the chair, into where you sit or lie. Allowing all of the muscles to release. All of the tension to slip away as we prepare to step into the fullness and the power of our spirit. Very gently now, bringing your awareness to your heart space, your heart center. And there, noticing a spark of light or a spark of warmth. And on the breath, allowing this spark to continue to grow, the energy to continue to expand, so that the light or the warmth flows to you and through you, filling the entire body now with the bright white light, the light of the spirit. And on the breath, allowing this light to flow beyond the body so that it fills the space around you. Allowing all physical forms to dissolve before the power of the Spirit, your Spirit, the spirit in which your body sits, allowing the spirit to expand so that it fills the room, fills the building and the street, so that all physicality dissolves before the power of the spirit within. Relaxing the mind, releasing thoughts, simply moving your awareness to the feeling and the experience, the awareness of your own limitless spirit, infinite and eternal, the form from which you came and to which you will return. Just sitting here in this space, enjoying the expanse and the freedom, not thinking, but feeling how it feels now to return to your natural state. As you flow and float through this space, leaving the body behind safely in the chair, you'll be back to collect it later. Allowing yourself to flow and float through this space, beyond all that you can see, through all time. Aware now of an even brighter light or a greater warmth, all space, all time, and allowing the light of your spirit to flow into and blend with light that fills the universe, multiverse, all dimensions, back and forth through time. This is the light of the One, the Tao, the Brahman, the light of the divine, the light of all that is. Allowing yourself to flow into and through this light so that you and this power become one. Surrender and release. Surrender and be one with all that is. The mind wander, turn your focus away from the thought, back to the depth of this intrinsic belonging. Opening the heart, surrendering the mind. Allowing yourself to flow so gently. Such unity and belonging to all that is. Just allowing yourself to experience and sense the subtle power in this place. Reach with the mind. surrender, 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 and release. Experiencing the compassion, this unconditional love that holds, surrounds you and flows through you in this space. Very gently and from the heart, sending out a very subtle invitation to your guides and helpers and to your loved ones to simply come and blend and join with you in this space. Reach, search, try to see. Open the heart to the knowing that we are present here, joining you, blending with you in this space. You and they are one power, one. One here together in the power and one in the spirit. And receive the love and presence. Now, in gratitude for this experience of true belonging and unconditional love, blending Beginning now to make your way back through this space, knowing you can return at any time. Beginning to step back now through the space, back, allowing the physical form, the physical world to become return to view. Making your way gently back to the physical form, noticing the room in which you sit, your form on the chair, the sounds, the smells, the weight of the world, the weight of gravity. Taking a deep breath in to fill your lungs, the oxygen in this space. Beginning to make small movements, we settle back into the body. Awareness now back firmly in the physical form. Taking another breath, and when you are ready, you can open your eyes. All right, you're all back. Anyone stay behind? No? All right, marvelous. How are you feeling? Good. Mary's good. Lula's good. Alice is good. Tia's good. Oh, most people are good. Fabulous. So that's just a short exercise in attunement. So when I was talking earlier about, doing these attunement practices, and Barbara's good, little thumbs up. I always love to see those little thumbs ups. Marvelous. That this sort of an attunement practice is really what we want to be sort of doing daily, if possible. To really support our mediumship, to really support that knowing that we are in the altered state. Because the more you do that, the more it becomes, you can move into that state within 2 seconds. We know we're in that space. And when we're in that space and we can feel ourselves in that space, then we know within our mediumship, first of all, we have moved into an altered state to such a degree that it is possible now for the loved ones in spirit to be able to communicate with us, to share information with us. So not just sort of trying to shout and get your attention in your ear, right? What they're doing is you've already met them in that space to allow that flow to happen, right? And then the second thing that happens there is you become very familiar with what it feels to be in that space, so that you know as you're working if you're there or if you're not. And if you're there, it can flow, and if you're not, it won't. And it's really that simple. Right? So what we need to do is just know what the energy feels and the power feels like for us, because it's going to feel different for everybody. And some days it'll feel very strong within you, some days it won't, right? It's the nature of the world, the nature of the physical form. But we become very familiar with it, So, any questions before we finish up? I just want to remind you also real quick, or I'll get into trouble for forgetting. Oh, what am I doing here? That up until, I think, the end of the day today, midnight or tomorrow morning, I think it is. Oh no, it's tomorrow, because this is like 50 people signed up to watch this recording. You can get $25 off when you register using the Story 25 discount, and you can also, and I think I've lost it, will get $50 worth of free practice circles, so you can keep checking in after the course is over. So we'll be doing that as well. So that's for anybody who registers by tomorrow, right? So if you want to come along, do that, and then you'll get your discount, obviously, and then you'll get your 2 free practice circles, which is really handy coming to the practice. I mean, you can come to the practice circles anyway. You just got to pay for them if you're a student. But this is just a way to try to help people stay within the community, stay within the teachings, and keep them up. All right. So if you do fancy coming along, like I said, I love teaching this course. The only thing I like teaching more than this course is grief writing. So I think I probably need to get a prescription for something or other. But so that's it. So I hope you can come along. Like I said, it's a great class, really exciting, really kind of transformative in a way, because you're doing an awful lot of work out into the world yourself. So an awful lot of healing, a whole different level of just presence in your own life sort of evolves from this. So I would love anybody who is inclined to come along to do this, because I do feel like you will find it quite transformative. So don't forget that little survey. I'm always forgetting. And don't forget Joanne's Healing Circle tomorrow. Dee, you can't reprimand me anymore now for that. Where have we got here? Jennifer, marvellous. I'm delighted that you're going to be coming. So I look forward to seeing you. Where Jennifer go? The windows. Oh, there you are. Windows will keep moving around. When you say sitting in the power and with the spirit, is it sitting in the divine? Yeah, the power of the spirit, the power of the divine, it's all one. That's why I keep using the word one, the power of the one. We're moving into that power that sort of tell us of something greater than ourselves, into our state of belonging with that is greater than ourselves, of which we are part, but not the whole, obviously. Lee, the recording will be going out probably later today. I think they'll get a recording out to you, so check your email, check your emails later for that. Anything else before we finish up? How are you all feeling? Are you all feeling blissed out from floating around in the heavens? Yeah, marvellous, marvellous, beautiful. All right, everyone, thank you. Lovely to see you. I'll see those of you who are joining me on Tuesday week. I will see you then, and I'll see a few of you for our last Edgar Cayce Trance Healing class on Tuesday. Oh well, and then we'll be on to stories. So have a great weekend, everyone, and hope to see you Tuesday week. Not before. Take care. Bye-bye.